So, as you well know, the theme of this weekend is consumed. And consumed has a lot of different meanings that are out there. The meaning that we're trying to talk about is being consumed by the fire of the Holy Spirit. One of the images of being consumed is a story in the scriptures of the first encounter of God that Moses had. How many of you guys seen like Prince of Egypt? You guys, yeah, it's a great movie. Check it out. It's a really, really great movie. There's this very, very cool moment where Moses, he's older now, and he was, exiled from Egypt, and so he's living in a foreign land, and he's become a shepherd. He's just hanging out, doing his thing. And it said Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro. That's a great name, Jethro. Priest of Midian, leading the flock beyond the wilderness. He came to the mountain of God, and an angel of the Lord appeared to him as fire coming out of a bush. The bush was on fire, but it was not being consumed. So Moses decided, I must turn aside to look at this remarkable sight. Why does it not burn up? And when he had turned aside to look, God called out from the bush, Moses, Moses, and Moses replied, Here I am. So Moses is just out there minding his own business, doing his thing, and off in the distance he sees like a shrub on fire. That probably happens quite a lot. It's the desert, it's the wasteland. Maybe there's like a lightning storm or something happened and it just caught fire, and you don't have a lot more to do. You don't have cell phones back then to look at, so he's just watching it burn and just waiting for it to go out, because that's usually what happens when something is on fire. It burns brightly, and then it stops. So it was burning, and it was burning brightly, and it kept burning brightly, and it kept burning brightly. And Moses, after a while, was like, what's up with that shrub? Like, why isn't that burning out like it should be burning out? And he went to go see what was up with this. And it was as he did that from that moment, the Lord called to him. The Lord called him by his name, and the life of Moses was, from that moment on, forever changed. When we talk about fire and we talk about being consumed, I think we can all think of things that have at times consumed us. And like fire in a shrub, it burns brightly, but then it eventually goes away and then usually leaves us worse for wear. I love sports. That's a huge thing of mine. No, I'm not an athlete. I don't even work out. This is natural. But I like watching sports. Two of my favorite sports to watch are hockey and basketball. So Steubenville, Ohio, if you think of Ohio, and if it hurts, you don't have to. But the eastern border of Ohio is where Steubenville is. We look right into the Ohio River, and across the river, not too far away, actually just 45 minutes from Steubenville, the nearest city is Pittsburgh. And, of course, it is the home of the Pittsburgh Penguins, which I'm a huge fan of. And on behalf of everybody in Pittsburgh, I would like to thank you for the gift of Sidney Crosby. Yeah, he is awesome. I've gotten to see him so many times. He is just absolutely, absolutely amazing. And I love going to hockey games. Another sport I said I love is basketball. So the next closest city from Pittsburgh is directly north of Steubenville, which is Cleveland, Ohio, the home of LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, seriously. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was great being a Cavs fan in the LeBron days. And then LeBron left us, and we had nothing for a very long time. The good news is the tickets got way cheaper. So I went from being able to afford like 2 games a season to like 11 games a season. So I was actually doing okay. They always lost, but that's all right. Well, if you follow the NBA, and again, if it hurts, you don't have to, but the Cleveland Cavaliers had an incredible season this year. They had the best record in basketball in the Eastern Conference. They were breaking records that LeBron set. And I got to tell you, I and a couple of my kids, we just became obsessed about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, we were watching every game. We were going to as many games as we could. We bought like all the jerseys. I got turned on to like a daily podcast. I mean, it was just all about the Cavs, because the Cavs were projected to go to the finals. And it was going to be like, I've always wanted to go to an NBA Finals game. It's like, oh my gosh, Like, this is going to be it. Like, this is going to be our year. And man, I was just crazy about it. I had conversations with people all the time about it. You know, like I don't really go shopping, so whenever I buy stuff, it's usually at like a sporting event. So like all my clothes, you know, are like Cavalier branded and things like that. And if you know what happened, they got knocked out of the playoffs pretty early by the Indiana Pacers, who ended up knocking out a lot of people out early. They went to the finals and they lost in Game 7, and that's divine justice as far as I'm concerned. But a weird thing happened. So they lost. I think it was maybe the second round is where the Cavs lost, and it was a gut punch. I mean, have you guys had that feeling where you've rooted for a team, you're just crazy about a team, and they lose in like a big game, and you're just kind of devastated? And I like went into depression for a little bit. I know it's kind of pathetic to say that, but I didn't want to listen to the daily podcast. I didn't want to wear any Cavaliers clothing. It was just like, it's like somebody broke up with me or something like that. It was super, super painful. But what it made me realize about a week or so later was, oh my gosh, like I was absolutely consumed by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like it was all I was thinking, all I was talking about. You know, I'd bring it up in every conversation. And there was a way that I'd like them, hopefully they'll have a great season next year, and hopefully they'll go to the finals. But even if that happens, I'm going to pay a little bit of attention to myself, because I don't want to throw myself so much into something like that, because the chances of it happening are pretty low. There's only one team that ends up being happy at the end of the season, regardless of whatever this sport is, regardless of whatever the season is. And I bet you can think of things that you have thrown yourself into. Maybe it's high school sports, or your academics, or maybe it's a relationship or other things. And at the time, it's burning bright. Man, it seems like this is so satisfying. It seems like this is so great. But it burns out, and it leaves you worse off. You know, you went from kind of a healthy thing to an on-fire thing to a dead thing. And some of us were just looking for the next thing that might set us on fire. You know, something that we're so excited about right now, a few weeks from now, we won't even remember it. And yet there is a fire that burns brightly in our lives, but it doesn't go out. And that's the fire that we're talking about this weekend. That's the experience that we're all invited to have this weekend. A fire, a gift that can burn brightly in your life and keep burning in our lives. A fire of passion, a fire of love, a fire of the Holy Spirit that can really change our lives. And to share a little bit about an experience that changed her life, I want to bring out Brooklyn. Come on, let's give it up for Brooklyn, everybody. Brooklyn is a part of a group of students called Franciscan Lead. They've been here all week getting ready, and I'll talk more about Franciscan Lead as the weekend goes on. But Brooklyn, would you share your story with us?
Well, as you know, my name is Brooklyn, and I want to share with you my encounter with Jesus. So, the first time I ever met God was in grade 7. And during this time, I was praying every day, reading my Bible every day, and I'm just so on fire for God. And, you know, during this time, I also didn't really believe in the Catholic faith. So I kind of didn't believe in the saints. I didn't believe in Mary. I just refused to take First Communion, and I just didn't really believe in the Catholic faith overall, and I just thought they had too many rules that I did not want to follow. Leading on to grade 8, that fire for God started to fade away, and I lost God at that time. And I still had that desire for God, but it was hard for me because I had this guilt in me that really prevented me to go to God. And when I was finding God, I found him at Steubenville Atlantic 2024. And this was during Eucharistic adoration. And keep in mind, this is my first time ever going to a Catholic conference, so I had no idea what to expect. So we were already in the auditorium, and it was before like Eucharistic adoration. And then when I saw the Eucharist at the altar, I was staring at it, I was like, what is that? And I was just like confused. But when adoration started to begin, and I was experiencing it for the first time, when the priest brought the Eucharist towards me and it faced me, the Holy Spirit really consumed me at that time, and just God's presence just poured down on me. I started crying in that moment, and just really felt his presence. And it really impacted me at that time. And ever since that day, I really got closer with my relationship with God, and I got closer with the Catholic faith. With that, I got my first communion this year, and I also got confirmed this year. And even through all that experience, I still fall into temptation. I still sin. I still, fall short with God. But having the sacraments with me really just strengthens my relationship with God and helps me with my daily life. Experiencing really consuming Jesus and going to confession, going to adoration, really strengthens my relationship with God. And I realized that Catholic faith isn't just a bunch of rules, but ways to get closer with God. And I just encourage any of you guys to be really open when really consuming the whole Jesus, and be open to learning new things and experiencing new things to get closer with God. And that's my testimony.
That was great. Thank you, Brooklyn. Appreciate it. Let's give it up for Brooklyn, everybody. Awesome. So cool.